It's been a hard week in Chiefs Kingdom. A lot of changes going on, and they got to get it right starting now. Let's talk about the game plan for the Chiefs versus Texans. Welcome back to RGR. I'm Ryan. This is me going rogue on your Chiefs and the NFL. Been an interesting week. Done a lot of film study. If you missed any of those, they'll be linked up there at the end. And please check out the rest of the channel. A lot of work went in this week because there's a lot to look at. And they got to get back on the right track here. I think really the team as well as the fan base were pretty overwhelmed and surprised by what happened against the Colts. And there's a lot of things that are little details that can really change the outcome. Now, if you're new around here, my name's Ryan. Make sure that you're subbed. Click that notification bell and the little drop down if you're on mobile. Leave your comment below and leave a thumbs up on this video if you like what you're seeing. Plenty more to come around here. Now, a couple of things changed. Another injury along the offensive line. Andrew Wiley is not going to play in this game against the Texans. And we're really interested to see who's going to step in and get the snaps. There are a number of options. Nick Allegretti's been here for a while. They just signed Steven Wisniewski. And Wisniewski is an old veteran, had played for Andy in Philadelphia, and is a guy who's been successful over the years. Had a bit of a drop-off last season and has been kind of out of the loop for a while. I'm not sure what kind of shape he's in or if he's going to be ready to play. It's going to be very interesting to see just how they go about dividing those snaps and if they're going to platoon or not once they get to game day. Now, no Eric Fisher as well, still injured, so that means Cam Irving is going to go. And that is a question mark against the likes of J.J. Watt and Whitney Merciless, as well as Charles Omenihu now, another young player on that Houston Texans team that can get some pressure, and pressure is the name of the game for Patrick Mahomes. We saw the difference against the Colts of when he is able to be mobile and when he is not, and that difference is night and day. I think what it comes down to is, can you shore it up enough? Can you be stout enough so that the combination of a couple of new guys, a couple of new wrinkles at looking at how to do the pass block, together with man-beating routes. We heard Patrick Mahomes talk about the fact that everybody's coming out to play man. They feel that they can beat them that way and that they have some options as they go along for what to do to combat that. But the key is getting the ball out faster. You're going to need to take some shots downfield eventually, but in general, the key has to be man beaters are quick, noticeably crossing routes in particular. I expect to see a lot of slants and goes, as well as some low crossers, and look for the ones that are really going to hit to be those intermediate 8 to 15 yard crossers that I think are going to be a big part of this game plan. You're going to have all kinds of defensive attitude and attention placed on Travis Kelce, so it's going to be up to some other players. And that brings me to two other players. Both Tyreek Hill and Sammy Watkins did not practice enough this week to make me feel like there's any chance that they're going to go. Is there an outside lark that could happen? Sure. But for most likelihood, we don't expect to have Hill or Watkins, and that brings it back down to what we saw last week with Demarcus Robinson, Mecole Hardman, and Byron Pringle being your primary wide receiver group. Can they sneak somebody else in there? Maybe, if they need a spark. But those three have to do what they weren't very well capable of doing last week. Those three are going to have to do what they didn't do terribly well last week, and that is beat man press coverage. In particular, the guy who has the best body for it is Demarcus Robinson because he can power up on guys. He's a very effective blocker. You've seen that on replays. He's got to apply that to hand fighting and getting off of the line. Now, he's a guy that I think can step in and do some of the things that Sammy Watkins does. And one of the best routes that Watkins runs is the slant, and that's got to be a part of this offense. Whether it's from the slot or from the wide, it doesn't matter. It's got to be a quick hitter, and I think Mahomes has enough confidence in these three to go ahead and go for it. I would think Pringle might be an option as well on the opposite side, but I'm really looking for Demarcus Robinson after having what so far is a career year for him, finally stepping out despite all of the naysayers, including myself, in the preseason. But can he step into Sammy's role? Can he take those slants? Can he get Yak after the catch? That's going to be Very, very important. And I feel like this secondary is okay, but I feel like that they can be exposed, and especially for some of the more creative route combinations, I think that's going to be very key. So I'm looking at Demarcus Robinson to kind of open things up, and then I think either Pringle or Hardman will be in a position to exploit whatever hole there is in the defense. It's going to be an interesting development to see. Not only do they play man, I do expect man, but we saw some mixes between single high and a cover 2 deep safety look. And honestly, one of the best coverages in the NFL is to play 2 high safeties in deep zones and play man underneath it. And I expect to see some of that. Romeo Crennel has kind of bounced back and forth about how he likes to go about it. We'll see what they come up with, but I think there's no denying that the Colts have followed up on what the Lions and the Patriots exposed before them, and that's most likely what we're going to see in the pass game. Now, on the other side of the ball, there's 2 guys that they have to stop in the Texans pass game. We all know about Nuke Hopkins. I think the Chiefs are able to body up on him pretty well. I like Bashaud Breeland in that role. We're going to see what happens if they try to get creative in moving Nuke around and try to get him matched up on somebody smaller. Mo Claiborne, I think, has the experience to play off man, especially, and do fine. I think it's going to be interesting to see what they do when they get Ward in a situation where he's up and pressing Hopkins, and the experience level is so disparate there. I think that's going to be a little bit of an issue. And on the other side, we can't ignore what Fuller did last week. He's got speed to burn, and there's no one on this Chiefs secondary that can keep up with him. Not even Ward, especially at the corner spot, but not even the safeties. So they have to understand where he is and what they're doing. And I think the Texans are doing a good job of taking advantage of what they're given. I will say that I think this Chiefs defense is better than what they've seen the last couple of weeks. So I don't think it's in for that kind of a high-scoring game like we saw last week. And that brings me to the 2 running games. This is a big question mark. Yes, there's a bit of a grudge factor with Carlos Hyde. He just didn't fit the Chiefs' scheme. I think he fits the Texans' scheme better, and I think you're seeing more success from him there. It doesn't mean that he should have stayed on the Chiefs' roster. I think in this zone run scheme, it's just not his thing as much. I feel like he's a guy that probably wants to get back a little bit. The Chiefs have to just swallow their pride and get down and protect against the run, first and foremost, every down. I want to see if they change their scheme. I hope that we'll see some, especially A-gap blitzes, because I think that's where they got hurt the most against the Colts last week. I hope that they can continue that. Let's see them bolster up. And then on the opposite side, with new guys along the offensive line, you still have LDT and Schwartz on the right side. It's apt to be run behind. Who's going to step forward? Are they going to give Darryl some carries? I think as a bigger power back, he's a good option this week. Want to see what happens with LaShawn McCoy. He got almost sat down last week after the fumble. I expect him to bounce back in a good way, and I'm really interested to see if they start Damian Williams or they just cycle him in. Didn't see anything that was really encouraging last week. They got to establish some run a little bit, though, at the very least to protect Patrick Mahomes and at least give him a few downs in a series where he's not dropping back and becoming a target for the pass rush. I think in a bigger game plan, that's got to take place. And you guys have heard me talk about that on the podcast. I don't know that it's going to be a dramatic shift, but I hope to see, 20, 25% more runs in the first half to try and protect Mahomes just from taking any kind of beating. And we'll see what that does for them. Now, those are my keys to this game plan. Let me know what you think. Leave your comments below and tell me what you want to see happen this week against the Texans. I'll be very interested to see what you all come up with. I appreciate all your time and checking out all the live feeds as well as the Q&As. These last film room reviews have been a lot of fun. I think you guys are liking those, and we'll be back for more of that this week. So make sure you check out these 2 videos. Thanks for watching today, and I'll check you next time.